welcome back to my channel. As you may know, the Caldecott Awards are coming up so soon. They will be presented on January 27th, 2025. This is a Monday morning and you'll probably be in school with your students, so it would be really neat to watch the award ceremony along with them. If you can't, I understand. I will be sharing some of the winners on my social media so that you know who won the award. But today I want to share with you some of my picks for the Caldecott Award this year. And stay tuned till the very end because I will tell you my number one pick. I'm going to save it to the end. So stay tuned for that. But I'd also love to know in the comments below, let me know which books you think should be nominated or which books you think should win the award this year, whether it's one that I share or a different one. There are so many amazing books that came out this year. I know I've shared lots of them on this channel. Definitely check out my playlist of new books and you can see all the new books that came out each month this year. I've also shared my Caldecott predictions in the past, so you can definitely check out those videos on my channel as well. I'll leave everything linked in the description box down below. If you're unfamiliar with the Caldecott Award, it's an award given to the artist of the most distinguished American picture book published in the previous year. So even though this award is being given out in 2025, it is a picture book that was released in the year 2024. So by most distinguished, this is according to a panel made up of librarians and other people involved in children's literature that year. You have to be elected or appointed to be one of the judges. And again, it's somebody that is involved in children's books in some way or form, such as a librarian. So there's some criteria that goes into selecting the Caldecott Award winner. We're gonna go through each of those. But I also wanted to tell you, I'm gonna leave a link in the description box down below. I have a freebie and I'll show it to you later in this video. You can do your own Mock Caldecott Award ceremony in your classroom and you can share books with your students and have them vote on which one they think should win. Whether it's some of the nominees or just any books that you've shared together in the classroom, they can go through that process as well and have them feel really involved in it. I think this really builds that love of picture books and helps students to focus on the illustrations. Sometimes I know as teachers, as adults, we really focus on the words. Those illustrations are what really appeal to children. So share this with them. Again, I'll leave a link to that in the description box down below. You can grab this resource for free. But what goes into choosing the Caldecott Award? Now there are 4 criteria. The first one is how well is the art executed? Basically, is it good art? The second one is how well does the art match the story? Is the style and the medium a good fit for the tone and the feeling that the author is trying to express in the book? Basically, in a nutshell, it's a happy, cheerful book. Does the art reflect that? Or if it's a sad and serious book, does the art match that? Number 3, is the art important to the story? Do you get any insight into the story or the characters or any additional details through the art that you wouldn't get if you just read the words alone? Like, does it really add to what the author is trying to say? And 4th, and which I think might be the most important, especially in a children's picture book, is does it have a child audience in mind? The award isn't for the most popular children's book, but it does need to appeal to children because it is a children's picture book. So those are the 4 criteria, and now I'm going to share with you the books that I've chosen, and I'll flip through them as well so that you can see some of the illustrations and kind of understand what I'm talking about, especially because we are focused on the illustrations with the Caldecott Award. I think it's important for you to see what the inside of the book looks like if you have not already. The first book that I have is Being Home. This one is written by Tracy Sorrell, and the illustrator is Michaela Goad, and she is actually a Caldecott medalist already. So let's see if she can grab herself another one with this book. So Michaela Goad's Caldecott Gold for We Are Water Protectors made history as she became the first Indigenous artist to win the Caldecott Award. And she also has a Caldecott honor for Berry Song as well. But the book Being Home follows a young Cherokee girl and her mother on a journey. And what I really like are the mixed media illustrations with the pencil, watercolor, and digital elements that are seen throughout this story. And so, especially on this page, we see a young girl sitting in a car and drawing in her notebook. And these glowing images swirl around her head. And it really shows that imagination, tradition, and memory and how they interweave in this book. And so the combination in this book of texture and color really reflect nature, tradition, and family. I really think that's what would make it a good contender for the Caldecott Award for 2025. The next book I have is Home in a Lunchbox, and this is both written and illustrated by Cherry Moe. Now let's flip through it and I can tell you a little bit more about what I think of this one. So Home in a Lunchbox is a wordless book, and the author uses different artistic styles to tap directly into the heart of the different emotional moments that are in this book. So this is a young girl, and she's in a new place and she can't speak the language. She doesn't know English very well. And we follow her journey, as her emotional journey through this story, as she learns to work with her peers and become friends and become accepted in this book. And so you see like the use of color and space that really help you feel those emotions along with her. And I love that when she opens her lunchbox, that's where that color really pops. She feels at home. We feel how happy she is after being frustrated and feeling lost. And I know I'm going to say this multiple times, but the illustrator really excels at the facial expressions and body language that tell this personal story. And we see the colors that are dark when she's uncomfortable, but that brightness when she feels at home, when she feels comfortable. We get into, the girl's name is June, we get into her head and we feel what she feels, and we kind of understand what's going on in her mind without any words telling us what's happening. We know when she's feeling lonely or when she's feeling really happy. And it's an emotional ride, but a beautiful one at that. And again, those images really pop off the book and help you feel what she's feeling. And I feel like I've repeated myself a few times, but I love how the author employs so many visual touches that bring the reader into this young girl's head. Such a wonderfully illustrated story for students. Another book that I think could be a contender for the Caldecott Award in 2025 is Joyful Song, A Naming Story. This one is written by Leslie Newman and illustrated by Susan Gall. So an ideal Caldecott winner is one that manages to mix artistic skill with a great text. And Joyful Song does just that. The illustrations in this book are done with watercolor, colored pencil, and paint that is digitally overlaid. Like, look how amazingly bright all of these images are. And one thing to point out is the use of white space in this book, and you'll see how that changes on the different pages, especially as we get through to the end of the story. But the bright colors help to convey the joy that is felt as this family is celebrating. And here's an example of, there's very little white space on this page compared to some of the previous pages, how different that is and how important that is to the story that's being told. But the vibrancy really makes the energy and the story jump off the page. And the artist's use of detail really helps to focus on certain points of each illustration throughout this story. So definitely another great contender for the Caldecott Award for 2025. Next, I have Touch the Sky. This one's written by Stephanie Luchinovic and illustrated by Chris Park. Let's flip through and I can show you why I think it might be a contender for the Caldecott Award this year. Touch the Sky is another vividly bright illustrated book similar to a Joyful Song. Like, look at these end pages. And this one is set almost entirely on a swing in a park, which we see playgrounds pop up in children's books quite often. It's definitely a very popular setting for a children's book. But the fact that it's set on just the swing and that the whole story can be told just in this one spot makes it really unique. And the energy that the illustrator brings to this story through especially the facial expressions and the use of color to create that movement on the page is amazing, and what makes it really different. And really, like, again, there's that movement that you see and those facial expressions that help you understand what the character is going through and really bring this story to life. Like, look how much color is used. This entire page is full of color. Such an amazing book with beautiful illustrations that could definitely be a contender for the award this year. This next one that I have is a nonfiction book, but has some amazing illustrations. This one is Life After Whale, The Amazing Ecosystem of Whale Fall. It's written by Lynn Brunel, and the illustrations are by Jason Chin, who was also already a Caldecott medalist. Okay, so I never bend a book this way, but I want to show you, let's see if I can get it all on the screen, what this cover looks like when you open it up and see the whole thing together. That's where the illustrations really start with this story, is the cover and the back, and really showing us that whale and using the color blue in all its different forms to pull us into the whale's environment. So we're really becoming part of the ocean with this whale using those colors of blue. And already you can see how that whale is brought to life in this story. And what is interesting about this book is we're learning about how an animal goes through life and eventually dies. And so at the beginning you see, especially with all this amazing detail, I'll bring it a little bit closer so you can see. You can see this animal that's healthy and vibrant and living. And as you go through this book, where we're incorporating not only the illustrations, but these scientific paintings as well, you'll see more of those throughout the story. As we go through, we see the detail of the animal as it's slowly dying. But that's not the end of the story. As you go through, it talks about more how the circle of life and how important that is to the world, especially in this aquatic environment. But the attention to detail that you see in this book is really what tells this story. And you can see all of the different elements of this whale and what's happening in the story. So again, not only are you balancing the illustrations along with these scientific paintings, but the illustrator is matching the author's work, but also appealing to children. So something that they would definitely be interested in and take a lot out of. Even without reading all of the words on the page, so much is told through all of these illustrations, which we know is one of the key elements to winning the Caldecott Award. So definitely one that could win the Caldecott this year. Another contender for the Caldecott 2025 award, I think, could be Jump for Joy. It's written by Karen Gray Ruel, and it's illustrated by Hadley Hooper. So Jump for Joy is truly a unique book and really catches the average reader by surprise. So at first you just see almost this black and white images with little pops of color. But if you're looking closely at all the details in this story, there's so much more to that. So for example, the young girl is looking for a dog, and she knows which dog is going to be hers when she sees him. And she goes through all these different dogs. Like, look how unique each one of these dogs is and all the detail that's in each one of them. But then one of my favorite parts is, so we go through, here's the dog, and he's looking for a young girl to be friends with. And so you can see in the clouds the young girl playing with the dog. And if you're moving through this book too quickly, you would miss these details. So first you see trees, but then you realize it's a young girl walking around and playing with the dog. Then in the same thing, she's making the dog sculpture. And you see, like, here's the dog and here's the young girl. And it's so interesting when you really pay attention. And I feel like it's almost telling not necessarily a different story than the words, but like it's adding so much more to the story. And it's kind of a fun example of how it's a story that's been told hundreds of times. A young girl is looking for a dog, or a dog is looking for an owner, but it takes it in a whole new way in just the different illustrations in the book. And the artistic technique is really great at storytelling, but also respecting the child as an audience. So you're still seeing the cute little puppy and the girl, and they're connecting with that. But older children will really pick up on the subtle details that are in this story. And it's taking this like almost collage effect. So for example, thinking about when you're a kid and you collect all these things from nature and put them together in a collage, that's exactly what this young girl is doing. And that's what's happening through the illustrations. So definitely one that shouldn't be overlooked for, oh, and then you have that burst of color. I almost forgot about that part at the end. And definitely one that should not be overlooked when thinking about contenders for the Caldecott for 2025. It's also such a cute story about a dog and a young girl. And the last one on my list is Two Together, written and illustrated by Brendan Wenzel, and he is also the creator of the Caldecott Honor winner, They All Saw a Cat. So could he win again this year? Let's flip through this book and I can explain why I think this one could win the award. Two Together portrays two different perspectives, that of a dog and that of a cat, as they play together throughout the day. And not only does it have the two perspectives of the two animals, but what you'll notice as you read is, and I don't know the exact type, but more of a painting marker drawing here, but this one is more of that colored pencil. And as you read through this story, these two become more woven together. And as they become closer friends and they do more activities together, you'll see these two things kind of start to blend together. And it would be interesting to see if your students picked up on that as well. And then they're playing during the day and then it begins to get dark and you see the more color is added and there's the darkness that sets. And then what's really interesting is that at the very end, students might pick up on how the images have changed. Now those two mediums that the illustrator, was using have come together to make almost a completely different type of image. So that's what really makes this different, and I think could make it a contender for the Caldecott Award, is how that changes throughout the story and how the words are telling you a story, but that there's so much more added with the images throughout the story as well. So definitely another great book that could win the award this year. Okay, and here is that Mock Caldecott Award freebie that I wanted to tell you about. There's a couple different options in here depending on how you want to do it with your class, but I think this would be really fun to get them excited about books in your classroom and especially focusing on those illustrations, and then they'll be really invested when the Caldecott Award is announced in January. So the first thing in here is kind of like an anchor chart. It gives examples, or it gives the criteria, I should say, for the award. The illustration technique is well done. The illustrations help the mood and theme of the story, and it gives examples of mood and theme. The illustrations are important for understanding the story, and children want to pick it up and read it. So this is really good to display as you're having students vote, as just kind of a reminder of what they're looking for. So you could have this full sheet where students will write the title, author, and illustrator, and then circle their score for each one. There's a smaller option as well. You can half a sheet, so that way it's
saves a little bit of paper. But it gives the kind of an emoji smiley faces down here and is a little bit more of a visual for students. You could even do like these small pages. This is where it would be important to display that criteria for each question so that students know what they are voting on. And then you can do a whole sheet, and you can fill this out ahead of time with the book titles here, or students can write in the book titles and then what they give it for score for each one, based on 1 to 4, and then total it up. But I think this would be fun for you to do in your classroom to prepare your students for the Caldecott Award. And I will leave a link to this in the description box down below. You can grab it for free. And I'd love for you to share photos with me about how it goes in your classroom. Feel free to tag me on Instagram, just at The Colorful Apple. And I can't wait to see what your students vote for.
So I hope that you got some insight into some of the picture books that could be Caldecott contenders this year for 2025. Again, I'd love to know which one you think could win. Put it in the comments down below, and we'll watch together on Monday, January 27th to see who takes home that award. Again, I also have a freebie that you can download. I'll leave a link in the description box down below, where you can do a mock Caldecott award ceremony in your classroom, and your students can help decide which book they think would win this award this year. Now, I did tell you at the end I would share which one I think will win. I'm not on the panel of judges. I have no insight, but just based on the collection that I shared with you today, I'm going to share my favorite. And this is probably why I'm not on the panel, because I just pick my favorite, and I know that's not the best way to choose the books. But the book that I think really had illustrations that added to the story, that is appealing to children, brings the book to life, shares those feelings and emotions, and you can really see it shine through in the story. The art is definitely important to this one. It tells most of the story, and I think the art is just beautiful, like just the cover alone. My pick is Home in a Lunchbox by Cherry Moe. Like I said, I have no insight as to who's gonna win. This might not even be a contender, but this is one that I think definitely hits all of the criteria for the Caldecott Award, and we'll have to watch together to see who takes home the award this year. I can't wait. I get so excited for it every year, and I hope that you are excited too. Again, let me know if you're gonna watch the award ceremony and who you think is gonna win, and I hope you have a great week.